welcome to Good Game, the show for gamers by gamers. I'm Bajo.
And I'm Junglist. Tonight it's Battle of the Quiz Games. Both PlayStation and Xbox have new offerings, but which one lights up our scoreboards?
Vin Diesel is the driving force behind the new game Wheelman. But does it rev our engines, or is it stuck in the pits?
And Yet It Moves is a new indie game released on Steam where you can rotate the world around you, but does the Earth move for us?
Okay, I'm out of puns. For now. It's Easter egg hunt time, Junglist, but not of the chocolatey type. Board game programmers often hide tasty treats in their games, and in this week's Backwards Compatible, we find the best of them.
And what type of gamer are you? Hardcore or casual? Maybe a mix of both. We look at why gamers need new titles.
But first, can you guess the game for this week? Here's a clue. Dun-dun, 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 dun-dun. Answer at the end of the show. News time, Junglist?
Or is it?
Yeah, it is.
Good game.
Game development legend Yu Suzuki has this week retired from his position at the research and development team at game company Sega. The creator of classic games, including Space Harrier, Outrun, Virtua Fighter, and Shenmue, Suzuki has been one of the key creative forces at Sega since the early 80s and has helped make many of the company's most popular titles. Suzuki will apparently still work with the company in a diminished capacity, although exactly how much of a role he will have in Sega's future is still unclear. His retirement does cast yet more doubts on whether we will ever see the third and final installment in his Shenmue trilogy. There's been more speculation this week that super talented Swedish game developers Starbreeze Studios are working on a revival of the Syndicate franchise. The series first appeared in 1993 and featured some classic squad-based action strategy gameplay in a dystopian science fiction setting, but it's been over 10 years since the last game Syndicate Wars was released. Starbreeze are responsible for the critically acclaimed Chronicles of Riddick games, as well as the comic book adaptation of The Darkness, and sources close to the studio are claiming that they have been working on a new Syndicate game since 2007. Neither Starbreeze nor EA have officially confirmed their collaboration, and further details are not yet available. Konami plans to publish the first major video game based on the war in Iraq. Entitled 6 Days in Fallujah, the game will be developed by Atomic Games in North Carolina, USA. President of the company, Peter Tamte, said their challenge was to present the horrors of war in an entertaining way. The announcement has been met with criticism, with one Iraq veteran saying it's far too early to make a game about a war still in progress, and a UK peace group declaring it sick to base a game on a war crime in which thousands of civilians died. It's expected 6 Days in Fallujah will be released next year. When you think of Vin Diesel, you think action star, hot rods, guns, and steroids. But Triple X is far from a musclehead. He actually owns his own game studio, which is responsible for the Chronicles of Riddick: Escape from Butcher Bay, largely considered to be one of the best movie games alongside GoldenEye. In fact, I think it's pretty much just those two.
And now there's another Riddick on the way, but we won't see that for a few weeks. In the meantime, he's managed to ninja in another game with Wheelman. It's fast, it's furious, and it tears up the underworld of Barcelona. And there's only one thing this game is going for: action.
I save a table for you. We get you whatever you want.
All I want is a fast car and a place to go.
You play pretty much the same guy Vin Diesel always is, dumped in Spain and looking for driving work. Doing different missions for mob bosses, you'll be tailing people at certain lengths, chasing down stolen cars and driving them back without any damage, and good old-fashioned shootouts, which are pretty easy thanks to the left-trigger auto-aim.
Yeah, they did well to keep missions fresh, but it is an open-world game, so as you teleport around town doing different missions, you'll undoubtedly come into some repetition.
And just like the last 50 or so incarnations of Need for Speed, occasionally you'll be caught doing something naughty and you'll have to lose the cops. In these situations, it helps to be able to flick the right stick in either direction, which will ram a car.
Magically, your cars can take a lot of damage, but if you do get a bit banged up, good old Vin Diesel has been practicing a new move where he can carjack without even stopping. When you earn it, the game can be very cinematic. Finishing off cars by ramming them or going over some cool ramps will go into movie mode. And these can sometimes take you by surprise, but sometimes it doesn't work out so good. I felt like the car physics weren't as good as something like Need for Speed, and also the open world wasn't as good as something like Grand Theft Auto.
I think they've got a lot of right ideas here, though. You know, like in GTA, they made you make your own way to the missions. I like this better. You can just teleport there, and why not? You know, there's a lot of things that ignore realism, but it's just put in there to be easy and fun. And I think it comes across that Vin Diesel's actually a massive gamer himself.
I hear what you're saying, you know, and as I was playing it, I'm like, oh yeah, that's fun and that's kind of cool, but there's nothing here that makes me want to play the game. You know, I don't stand up and go, hey, let's play some Wheelman. I had more fun making fun of the way his shirt sticks to his pecs.
I'm not taking no for an answer.
Or making him ride around on one of those mopeds.
Yeah, I thought so too, but you know, then the super moves rolled around. There's one where you can flip around 180 and take a few aim shots to take out a few baddies and then flip back around again. That's cool, man.
Totally. But, you know, there wasn't enough variety for me. There's only a couple of those moves, and you know what my attention span is like. I don't even know what...
Well, it may be a jack of two genres, master of none, but it's still pretty enjoyable and pretty good looking too. I'm giving it 7 out of 10 rubber chickens. Wheelman, final thoughts.
I think we've been spoilt with open world games lately. I feel like I have been, and so this one just doesn't come up to cross for me. I'm giving it 6. Now, most gamers have probably spent a large portion of their gaming time shooting at things, whether it be aliens, zombies, a combination thereof. So it's no surprise that this week's great moment in gaming goes to a shooter, but not for its pew-pew action, but for making gamers stop and gaze in awe.
Right for impact!
After crash landing on the Halo ring for the first time, gamers were presented with this amazing view. Unlike most views though, the horizon didn't just disappear, but actually stretched up into the sky and over our heads. It was a moment that made many a sci-fi fan squeal with joy. Gamers didn't have long to enjoy the scenery though, with the Covenant quickly disturbing the peace, giving chase to the Chief, and kicking off one of gaming's most memorable shooting romps, making it this week's great moment in gaming.
Good game!
Okay, now, I know that some of you have been saying my videos for Guitar Band are fake. I just want to say that that's a lie. You be trolling. Stop sipping the haterade, cause you don't know what you're talking about. So I'm gonna do this one, and it's gonna have no camera tricks. No camera tricks. This is all 100% real. Okay, so here I go. On Super Expert, Mode Hard Expert.
Ugh, this is worse than the time I found that little Junglist cosplay experiment of yours.
Good game!
What type of gamer are you? It's a simple question with 2 answers, hardcore or casual. Odds are, if you're watching this show, you'd classify yourself as a hardcore gamer. A gamer who spends at least some of each and every day playing a video game. A person who could translate the complete works of Shakespeare into leet speak. A person who owns a beast of a machine with dual screens and adjustable fan speed. And at least 3 consoles, one of them dating back to the very first Christmas you can remember. Thanks, Santa, but I really wanted a Mega Drive. At the other end of the scale, there's the casual gamer. Chances are, if you're forcing someone else to watch this show with you, they are a casual gamer. A gamer who can happily discuss the in-depth tactics of Bejeweled. A gamer who's actually spent points on a new outfit for their avatar. Anyone with a cat named GLaDOS. GLaDOS. And to the hardcore, the casual gamers should be treated with utter contempt. But the times they are a-changing. Over the last year or so, a new type of game has emerged. And no matter how much we try, we can't squeeze it into either the casual or the hardcore box. Take, for example, a game like Portal. Now, I know we bang on and on about Portal on the show, but with good reason. It's awesome in the face. Not only the brilliant use of the Portal gun, but it had a great story. It created atmosphere, managed some great surprises. It has one of the best boss fights ever, and it has a song that gets in your head. It would drive you crazy if it wasn't so good.
While you're dying, I'll be still alive. And when you're dead, I will be still alive.
See what I mean? And it's short. Most gamers finished Portal in well under 4 hours. Well and truly a casual game's duration, yet it still managed to please just about everyone, including the hardest of the hardcore. Another game with a foot firmly in both camps is World of Goo. Like Portal, it's a physics-based puzzler, but what made it so good was its clever level design. The levels were just tricky enough to make you feel like you had done a great job when you collected enough bits of goo. It even let you quit and move on when things got too tricky. But for the hardcore player, there were extremely challenging OCD settings. All this cleverness is wrapped up in warm and fuzzy graphics in a game that you can play for 5 minutes or 5 hours. It's a masterpiece. Masterpiece can also be used to describe Braid. Braid is mind-bendingly challenging, and even the most experienced gamer groaned with the strain of so many brain cells going into overdrive. And yet on the surface, it's just this 2D platformer handily divided into 6 different chapters, collecting nothing more exciting than puzzle pieces. So what are we seeing here? Mitch Karpata, in his excellent blog Insult Sword Fighting, thinks that the time has come for a new taxonomy, it's a fancy word for class, of gamer. He calls them tourists, players that are in search of a fulfilling gaming experience in a relatively short space of time. Because the truth is, as we get older, real life interferes with the time we have to game. Families, work, domestic duties, and the socializing thing I keep hearing about. Once upon a time, gaming was seen as the preserve of the young, something you should grow out of. No way. In fact, those who have spent their time looking into this have found that gamers don't stop playing. They just get older. And these gamers are in search of good games that fit into their big grown-up lives. For them, the thought of a 50-hour open-ended sandbox with a gazillion side missions and multiple endings is enough to send them running to the latest incarnation of Peggle.
Extreme fever, yeah!
It's not that they don't appreciate these massive games, they just don't have the time to play them. And yet they spit in the face at the notion of being labeled a casual gamer. Just a few years ago, everyone was talking about next-gen hardware, and then we saw next-gen graphics. And then the big question came, what about next-gen gameplay? What's that going to be like? Well, this is it. Games like Braid, Portal, World of Goo, and many others like the thought-provoking Flower, these games don't punish you for leaving. They can be resumed almost instantly, and they have simple learning curves. They can be digested in small, meaty, bite-sized chunks, and yet still leave your gamer's belly full. As the gaming industry matures, outdated terms like hardcore and casual will become increasingly irrelevant and make way for new terms like cashcore or tourist or weekend warrior or I was once a hardcore gamer but now due to life commitments I'm seeking a smaller but more satisfying experience. Or maybe not that last one.
Good game.
Holidays can often mean time with friends and family, so to satisfy the gaming craving, you might be tempted to pick up a party game.
Party! No. Games accessible by even the most non-gamer of non-gamers. Typically, they emulate some kind of real-life activity, such as the quiz show, and both longtime PlayStation staple Buzz and relative newcomers Seen It on the 360 have new quiz editions.
If you only play one first round this year, make it round 1.
Just like the first, Seen It Box Office Smash tests movie knowledge and draws from a wide range of films spanning many decades. By far, the best rounds are those involving a movie clip.
Hey, I've got a great idea. Why doesn't Lancelot go?
Yes, let me go, my liege. I will take it single-handed. I shall make a feint to the northeast.
No, hang on.
But I guess due to disk space and copyright issues, there's only a few of these per game, so you'll spend most of your time doing crosswords, identifying actors from blurry pictures, and whatever this is supposed to be.
Buzz Brain of Oz focuses on Australiana and offers a wider range of questions, including food and drink, music, TV and movies, all with an Aussie focus.
Hello and a great big Aussie welcome to all of you Bruces and Sheilas out there. Forget Australian Idol, forget Neighbours. This is Buzz, the best quiz show in Oz.
There's a larger variety of rounds here and more opportunity to dump on your fellow contestants.
This pie's got someone's name. Look out. Kick them when they're down.
Top Jungie tip though, if you're unsure of the answer, just go with the Aussie.
What is the nationality of rock group Something for Kate?
Of course, nothing is more annoying than a total trivia buff answering everything, so both games have a comeback system which let the trivially challenged stay in the game.
The trouble with Scenits is it seems totally unfair. Players at the end of the round can collect thousands of points for being last place for 3 rounds, or most incorrect answers. I get that it's supposed to keep you in the game, but the person that knows the most should win. We even found ourselves getting in last place a couple times on purpose just for bonus points.
Buzz's system is better and fairer. Last place gets to choose the category for the next round, and that can make a big difference. But it still has that annoying final round where being quick on the buttons is just as important as getting the answer right.
You're in first place because you're significantly better than everyone else. I see that now.
Jason Donovan is back as the voice of Buzz, the Quizmaster, and whilst his jokes are really lame...
A suicide pie! Awesome!
They aren't nearly as bad as the random voiceover dude in Scenit.
I'm gonna go find out who's won this game, and I'm not coming back until I have an answer.
Buzz's questions are also spoken aloud, so you feel that the Quizmaster is with you throughout the game, rather than just at the start and at the end of each round.
In 2003, who described the meat pie as Australia's national dish?
Overall, I think the quiz show-like production in Buzz is more enjoyable than Scenit.
What is far less enjoyable is setting up the wireless controllers for Buzz. I mean, someone at head office needs a good spanking for devising these instruments of torture. Being asked to refer to a manual for the game, and then in the manual itself being asked to refer to another manual for the setup option, it's just stupid. I mean, there's space here. Copy and paste, man. Copy and paste. Also, why not have the in-game connection notes in the game itself? Final thoughts.
Well, seeing as both these are console exclusives, it's going to depend on what system you've got. So for most people, it's not a case of one or the other. But I do think that Scenit could learn from Buzz's customization options and variety of rounds.
And Buzz could certainly do with adopting some of Scenit's ease of setup.
Definitely, but they are both enjoyable with the right crowd. I think they both deserve a 7.
Once you get them both working, yeah, they're both a 7.
Don't get shirty. It's straight dinkum and you're out.
Good game.
It's that time of year again, good gamers. But now, let's take a break looking for eggs of a chocolatey kind and take a look at some super secret gaming Easter secrets. It all started in 1979 with a game called Adventure for the Atari 2600. It was a primitive kind of dungeon crawling game with a confusing labyrinth of corridors filled with countless strange and misshapen creatures wanting to do you in. But of course, it also had a hidden secret. If you made your way to a specific room in the ominously named Black Castle, picked up a hidden object, took it to another room and used it on a particular wall, this would happen. You'd get a secret message from the game's creator, Warren Robinett. You see, back in the old days, game designers weren't given due credit, and in fact, Atari had a strict policy against acknowledging their employees for their work. So, as a last resort, many Atari employees would hide their name or initials somewhere in the game as a secret. These hidden secrets became known as Easter eggs, and they quickly started appearing in other Atari games. Like this famous Easter egg found in 1981 shoot-'em-up classic Yar's Revenge, the initials of its creator and programmer Howard Scott Warshaw. So that's how all this eggy business began, and over the years, Easter eggs have evolved to include ever weirder surprises. One example that had more than its fair share of Easter eggs is The Legend of Zelda: A Link to the Past. The best known of these is the classic chicken revenge attack, where if you victimized a defenseless chicken for long enough, the bird would let out an almighty caw, summoning a squadron of furious killer chickens to teach you a lesson in animal cruelty. The Easter egg proves so popular that it's been included in practically every Zelda game since. But A Link to the Past also had a far more interesting secret that you probably haven't heard about. In 1990, Nintendo ran a competition to find one kid they could bestow video game immortality upon, and that kid was named Chris Houlihan. Nintendo gave Chris his own room in the game, and while it was almost impossible to access, requiring incredibly precise timing to find, it was definitely worth it. Not only did the secret room give you a fortune in rupees, but it also showed you a message from Chris himself. No one really knows who the kid was or what he's doing now, but wherever he is, he's officially a part of Zelda history, and we're jealous. The hellish dimension of id Software's Doom 2 may seem like an unlikely place to find some Easter festivity, but this game has another of the gaming industry's most notable eggy-weggies. The first clue that something Easterish was afoot was this. What was that? Sounds like gibberish to you? Well, you're wrong, and we're about to show you just how wrong you are. Let's hear that again, but this time using the technological marvel that is audio manipulation.
To win the game, you must kill me, John.
What did this ghostly message mean? Was the game's co-creator, John Romero, approving the use of physical violence on him just to beat the video game he made? Not quite, but almost. By using a cheat that allowed you to go through solid walls, you could walk right through the last boss's face and into a tiny chamber where you would find the zombie head of John Romero on a stick. Presented with a sight like that, what else was there to do? A few left mouse clicks later and Zombie Romero was sent back to the hell from whence he came, and we just witnessed one of the best gaming Easter eggs ever. When you're talking about something as massive as a massively multiplayer online game, you know that someone must have sneaked some crazy stuff in there somewhere. And when it comes to the biggest MMO of them all, World of Warcraft has this. Step 1, find a chicken. The birds milling around Saldine's farm in Westfall will do fine. Next, you need to do the chicken dance in front of the foul beast almost 100 times, which will not only test your patience, but also your keyboard. Eventually, the animal will acknowledge your presence with a quizzical look and issue you with a special quest. Complete the quest and the chicken will join you as your traveling companion for life, or at least until you abandon your WoW account. If a hidden chicken quest isn't a literal enough Easter egg for you, then there is always this hidden secret in Rockstar Games' Grand Theft Auto Vice City. Although it was well hidden behind a fake wall on the side of a skyscraper, once you'd found this surprise, there was no mistaking it, because it was actually an Easter egg. The chocolate orb simply sat on a pedestal in a tiny room, and its only real purpose was to poke fun at you for being obsessive enough to find it. And on that note, I think we've found enough Easter eggs for this year. But since stashing secret stuff in games never goes out of fashion, there'll always be a never-ending supply of super sweet secrets waiting to be found. Just don't find too many, kids. They're bad for your teeth, you know.
Good game! And Yet It Moves is a small downloadable PC game recently released on Steam. Its papery graphics and eccentric music would be enough to set it apart as is, but its main hook is the ability to rotate the world by 90 or 180 degrees, affecting gravity.
And that explains the name. Supposedly when Galileo was being forced to recant his theory that the Earth revolved around the sun, he muttered the words, "and yet it moves."
Nice research.
Read it on the back of a cereal box.
Not so nice. Anyway, this all gets interesting when you learn that momentum carries over after the world rotates. For example, jump towards the right side of the screen, flip the world, and you'll still be heading towards the right side of the screen. This opens up a Pandora's box of rotational rhetoric that can be pretty hard to get your head around at first.
The checkpoints are very forgiving and even point you in the right direction. With such a new idea, it's a good thing that the difficulty ramps up slowly. Out of 3 chapters, I'm sure some will struggle with the first 2 as they get the hang of it, whereas more experienced platformers will feel like the game hasn't really started until chapter 3.
These games based on simple, new ideas really depend on how far they take it, how much they mess with the idea, and how many ways they can use their core mechanic. in the first 2 chapters, you do get some nice puzzles, like redirecting drops of water around obstacles to get to a seed.
Yeah, lots of good gravity puzzles, and there's a few directing fire upwards and making bats fly upwards to scare giant lizards.
Yeah, and like you said, after the second chapter, I thought, maybe that's all they've got, but still good.
And then the snake came.
And then the snake came. And as soon as he bites you, the whole world just starts tripping out. The visuals go nuts. You get mean forests that don't want you to pass, dark versions of yourself that just do the opposite, slowly rotating worlds, and downright nasty platforms that only appear when the world is turned the right way.
What was previously an interesting experiment became brilliant, and with only a few hours in length, Jung, I was happy with that and still wanting more. It's definitely not one of those games that doesn't reach its potential, it got right up there.
Nah, they took it there, man. It's a game that'll really challenge your perspective in a new way. I'm giving it 9 out of 10.
It probably won't take you long to switch to your own music, but the achievements are interesting and there's time trials as well. And it fits into that whole argument about not being able to classify a game as hardcore or casual anymore. I'm giving it 8.5.
Good game.
So, did you guess the game for this week?
It was 1982's Shark, a fish-eat-fish title for the Intellivision. You started as a tiny yellow fellow chomping his way through smaller fish to grow bigger and fatter while avoiding pinchy crabs and poisonous jellyfish. But watch out for the shark. You could only defeat him by repeatedly slapping his tail like this until he dropped dead.
Shark was one of the first titles co-designed by a woman, Ji-Wen Sao, and it was initially dismissed as a stupid kiddie game. That all changed when reams of rave reviews rolled in, and they had to rush out more copies to meet demand. Now, we're writing a book, The Good Game Gamer's Guide to Good Gaming, and whilst our contributions are nothing short of literary genius, we'd like your help as well.
We're looking for your favorite gaming memories, your RAM, in 60 words or less, and the best we'll get in the book. Hit up the home website and check out Random Access Memory for details.
Next week, Afro Samurai. It's anime with funk, katanas with mojo, and a whole lot of hairspray.
You've probably heard about the internet filter trials that are currently underway. It's the government's plan to protect the youth from nasty stuff on the webs. But what will it mean for gamers?
And time's running out to get your ideas into the Serious Games Initiative. More info here. Till next week, gamers, Bajo out.
Junglist out.
Buzzer now, please.
I'm doing it! Catch the sea! So I think of that.